Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news, and we have got some very interesting topics. He said what? Sir Jim Ratcliffe's ridiculous transfer plan exposed. We'll be talking about that. Basically just nonsense. He puts nonsense out there, basically saying that the players that Amrim have got available are mid-table. It's just nonsense. We'll talk about that and why it could impact the summer transfer window. Also, very interesting, Yildiz of Juventus, George Mendes involved. That's a massive transfer boost for Manchester United. A goalkeeper we've been linked to. Again, the United Stand at the forefront of goalkeeper talk. Exactly what I predicted would happen. We're now being linked to a younger goalkeeper who has the potential to come in and oost Onana, and also a goalkeeper that Arsenal, Man City and many other clubs are looking at that you've probably never heard of from Belgium. Also, Angel Gomez, we'll be talking about that. Luke Shaw, incredible wages. Fair play to Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic for this piece that's come out this morning. Anonymous sources have told them that Luke Shaw's wages that he agreed back in 2023 were 200 grand a week plus bonuses. I mean, I know a lot of people have lost their job at Manchester United, but this is just ridiculous. We'll talk about that as well. Also, a little bit about Anacho Sporting that's broken in the last few minutes. And a few other bits as well. There was one other story I will remember it as we get into. So quite a few bits to get into. Patrick Lynch is hitting the super chat first of all. Good morning, Patrick. He says, these transfer stories are smoke and mirrors. Makes it look like we're being active without actually being active. It makes me worried that we actually don't have a plan for the summer. Well, before we get into that, because I don't dispute what you're saying there at all, Patrick. Just from the Manchester Evening News, this has just come out as well. There is a genuine chance that Mainoo could leave in the summer. There needs to be a compromise in contract negotiations for Mainoo to stay, but it is thought a split might eventually be best for the player and the club. That's coming in from Stephen Railston, who works for the Manchester Evening News, who in my opinion is one of very few decent journalists at the Manchester Evening News. So that's interesting that he would put pen to paper, so to speak. We'll talk about Mainoo. I think that's maybe, I want to talk about other things because the Mainoo story just keeps going on and on. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think it's smoke and mirrors. I think it's, he's signed a new contract, and I think that could be another part of that. The client journalism does exist. But the story I wanted to start off with, which I find most interesting this morning, is this story that came out from Laurie Whitwell. And I will get you the direct quote here because it's very, very interesting what he's saying, because it's basically, and you know, ultimately it's coming in from stuff that Sir Jim Ratcliffe said. So the wage issues will be at the heart of United's transfer planning this summer. The board is trying to exercise restraint with new signings and is determined to ensure those who are well played are able to play regularly. United wants to avoid having large wages sidelined for an extended period of time, and the club has made fitness a priority for new signings. Well, sounds so far so good. This follows Sir Jim Ratcliffe's statement that the wage bill of players at the manager's disposal, excluding injured and loaned players, was the equivalent of a mid-table team. He said what? The great thing about Sir Jim Ratcliffe is he says something and within seconds you can find evidence that completely and utterly exposes that as a football man, he is absolutely dreadful. So look, what this is all about, and I've done a bit of research, as I'm sure you are. Basically, Man United have put it out there to The Athletic and Laurie Whitwell that we're going to be operating with restraint this summer. Surprise, surprise. Restraint means, you know, we're not going to throw loads of money at things. And we want to avoid paying large wages to people that aren't available. I mean, what? Well, I tell you what, Arne Slot, Arteta and Pep won't be sleeping tonight. Man United have found the secret sauce. Sign players that actually can play. Oh my God. What is this wizardry? What? Forget Pep ball. This is the new. They're going to revolutionise football here. They're going to revolutionise it. Yeah, Man United have come up with a theory that if you buy players that can actually play, you'll be better. Oh my God. Oh my God. What have we done here? So United want to avoid paying wages for people who aren't available, and the club has made fitness a priority. Oh my God. There's more. Oh my God. They've prioritised. They want to sign players that are fit. oh my God, what's going on? We're back. Of course, I'm being very sarcastic here, and I know that doesn't necessarily travel, but I mean, this is open goal logic. This is common sense, and it's something that you've been saying for a long time. Stop paying big wages on players that aren't worth it, and do your homework on players' mentality and fitness so they're actually available. I mean, what do they want? A pat on the back? I mean, if that's your big plan of a strategic review 12 months later, then we truly are in trouble, aren't we? Because that's just common sense. What I found really interesting is, and I'm just going to blow the doors off on this, Sir Jim Radcliffe's statement that the wage bill of players at the manager's disposal, excluding injured and loan players, is the equivalent of a mid-table team. It's this sort of stuff that really does need calling out because it's scary. It's really, really scary. And his quote was actually this: if you look at the top 8 players in terms of salary at Manchester United, 50% of those are not available to Ruben. And if you had the same at Man City or Liverpool, it would be a different case for them as well. So what he's basically trying to say is that the squad that Ruben Amorim has available to him is a mid-table squad, which it isn't. It is because of league table, but it literally isn't. And this is the guy who is speaking publicly for us. This is the guy that is publicly speaking to you, feeding you nonsense. You know, mushrooms in the dark, fed on shit again. So let me just completely and utterly blow this apart. So he is saying that Man United's squad that's available to Amorim, when you look at wages, is a mid-table squad. And if you look at the top 8 players in terms of salary, 50% of them are not available to Ruben. Well, I'm just going to blow the doors off on this straight away. So who are the top 6 earners at Manchester United? Off the top of my head, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, and I would say probably De Ligt or Anthony or Maguire. So only one of those players is injured, Mason Mount. So he's a liar straight away. Our 6 earners, 5 of them are available. We loaned 2 of them, and 3 of them are actually available. De Ligt, Bruno, Casemiro. So he's not telling the truth, is he? The only player that's injured out of our top 6 earners is Mason Mount. We loaned 2 of them off and didn't replace them. That's not on Amorim. So, and also, I don't know what he's talking about. It's a mid-table squad. If you add up Casemiro, Bruno, De Ligt, these are all available players, by the way. These are available players, right? If you add up Casemiro, who's available, Bruno, who's available, De Ligt, who's available, Maguire, who has been available a lot, Eriksen, who's available, and Mazraoui, who's available, if you add those 6 wages together, that's £1.2 million a week. That's £62 million a year. That's more than Brighton pay for their entire squad and Bournemouth pay for their entire squad. So 6 of our available players earn more than Brighton and Bournemouth squads who are in the top 8. I mean, it's just not true, is it? It's not true. And I tell you what, after 20 years of the Glazers and the last 10 years, the last thing I want is to be lied to. The last thing I want is to be treated like a bloody idiot. And Sir Jim Radcliffe needs to get better people around him before he starts opening that. Because Man United fans know more than you, mate. You can't just sit there in an interview and go, well, at the end of the day, you know, it's not Ruben's fault. You know, the players he's got available, factually, are mid-table when you look at the wages of everybody else. Hold on a minute, mate. 6 of his available players earn more than the entire Bournemouth squad who are in a top 4 race, than the entire Forest squad who are in the top 4, than the entire Brighton squad who are in a top 4 race. 6 of our available players earn more than the entire Bournemouth squad. So you're talking out your arse, mate. You're literally talking out of your arse to try and justify some weird PR spin again. Stop telling lies. Tell the bloody truth. It's not true. Amorim's available players do not earn what a mid-table squad should earn. We've got Bruno on 300 grand a week. Casemiro's playing regularly on 350 grand a week. De Ligt's on 200 grand a week. Mazraoui's on 120 grand a week. Maguire's on 190 grand a week. Eriksen's available. He doesn't get used. So the actual thing here is stop finding excuses for why Man United are where they are. Man United are where they are because we've recruited badly for 10 years. Not because of injuries, not because of anything else. And I think what he's trying to say, because some people will say, well, are we not splitting hairs here? What we're basically saying is he's saying the players aren't good enough and you're saying the players aren't good enough. Yeah, on a basic level he is. But I think what he's really saying is we're wasting money on big wages. You don't need to pay big wages to be good, but you do. You do. The reason Saka's on good money, or Salah's on good money, or Van Dijk's on good money, or Son's on good money, or, you know, these players are paid good money because they're good players. We need to pay good wages for good players. That's what we need to do. You know, Bruno Fernandes, is he worth 300 grand a week? Arguably no, arguably yes, but he's still our best player and he plays every week. De Ligt, is he worth 200 grand a week? Arguably yes, arguably no, but he's a good player and he performs every week. Wage is a myth. You get what you pay for in most things. The problem is we've overpaid for shit. I think what Sir Jim's saying is we've overpaid. We haven't overpaid, we've overpaid for shit. You can pay a player 300 grand a week and it's worth it. You know, if you've got Vinicius Jr. running on your wing at £500,000 a week, he's worth it, isn't he? So I just think be very wary of this sort of nonsense because people fall for it, and it's not true. He's trying to make out that Amorim's players he's got available are basically a mid-table wage. We look, £62 million a year on 6 players that are actually available for United is more than Bournemouth's entire squad earns. It's more than Brighton's entire squad earns. Admittedly, I looked at it. Luke Shaw and Mount is about 400 grand a week, which is 20 million a year. They're never available, obviously. But Jadon Sancho, Anthony and Rashford are all available. £41 million a year in wages. They're all available. We've just loaned them off to somebody else. That's on us. That's not injury. That's not fitness. That's us deciding to loan £40 million worth of players' wages a year and loaning them out. So I think he meant our best paid get the same as an entire mid-table squad. Not that they're paid as mid-table clubs. No, he does. How does that even make? I think he meant our best paid get the same as an entire mid-table squad. Well, it's not true, James. Are you not listening? Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, De Ligt, Maguire, Eriksen and Mazraoui earn more in a year than the entire Brighton squad. That's not even half our team at the moment. I haven't even included the salary of a Yoro, or an Onana, or a Delo, or a Dorgu, or a Mainoo, or a Garnacho, or a Rasmus, or a Xerxes. I mean, what I'm trying to say is the squad that he's got, even with people who are injured and loaned, should be in the top 6. We'll be paying close to 90 to 100 million pounds for our current available team. I bet if you went through Man United's squad against Leicester or against, you know, Forest next week, I bet that is exactly what we're ended up with. You pay for what you get for, says Sin Games, and I can go to Heron and get non-branded cornflakes for half the price of Kellogg's. Even the non-brand was made. The truth is you can pay less, says Sin Games. And what's the news on Yildiz? Well, we'll talk about that next. And I've just had a bit of breaking news come in across here now. It's from Beth, actually. Let me have a look. Yeah, it's about Mainoo, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. Obviously, it's coming in from the Manchester Evening News that Manchester United may part way with Mainoo. We'll talk about that as well. Mainoo is too small to play in the midfield, says Mediterranean, and I can't believe we have people in here who just troll, says JR. I mean, yeah, I think there are people out there. Oh, can I just say as well, what the hell? It's not really news. What the hell is going on in our fan base in relation to Ugarte and who is driving it? I can't believe it. He put a tweet out yesterday And United fans, I even recognise some of the accounts, are giving him shit, saying, don't come back, you're a load of... Who started this? Who has started this against Ugarte? Because they should go to prison for their crimes. Like, at what point has Ugarte become a point of dislike in our fan base? It's weird. I mean, I get the Rashford, the Bruno, the Luke Shaw, the Maguire. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I sort of get it because they've been here a long time and it's been a bit up and down. But Ugarte on Twitter, the replies from United fans, not all of them, but it's disgusting. I just don't get. I do not get 2025. People are growing popularity-wise off pure venom, anger, aggression. It's strange. It's so strange. What has Ugarte done? And I said this at the start of the season. You got people out there giving him nicknames and having a go at him. We didn't buy him till the end of August. He had no pre-season. He didn't really start playing until the end of October. And since then, he's been good. On the show last night, I gave him a 6.5 for the season so far. His energy, his passion, and his ability, to be fair, are all very promising. I do not get why some fans are aggressively against him. I don't get it, and it's worrying. It's really, really worrying how much some people carry such aggression and anger in 2025. It's strange. It's really, really strange. Maybe it's a society issue. I don't know, but I just find it really, really strange. And I'll say my piece on that. Manny Kanian, thank you very much for gifting 5 memberships. You're a legend. Let's talk about Yildiz. I don't think you'll get many people talking about this morning, but I think this is a really interesting development. I actually spotted it on a Chelsea website. Gazzetta dello Sport have reported that Chelsea are one of the clubs interested in Juventus star Yildiz. Remember, this is the Turkish 19-year-old. Reminds me a little bit of a younger Ginola. And basically, we've been linked to him last week. Well, this is what the latest is from Italy, because obviously Juventus is in Italy and Yildiz plays for Juventus in Italy. Gazzetta dello Sport have reported that Chelsea are one of the clubs interested in Yildiz. The report adds that Mendes, who is George Mendes, who represents Yildiz, has already informed Juventus of interest from Chelsea, Manchester United and Liverpool. Juventus apparently wouldn't accept a bid below 80 million euros to avoid a Hilson type situation as they lost Spain international on the cheap to Bournemouth. I think that there's two interesting things I would say about that. If you take the piece as accurate, 80 million euros rules us out straight away. And he has got a contract till 2029. So I think that if he's going to go for 80 million euros, forget about it. But Nick says Chelsea are becoming annoying. The second thing I would say is that George Mendes was hugely influential on our summer transfer window last year. And I've always been a defender of our transfer window. I think it was slow. I think it was sell to buy, but unlike Gary Neville and others, I've always said I quite liked the summer transfer window last year. I think it addressed a lot of key issues, and I think the players that we brought in were, players that actually have proven to be quite consistent. I mean, last night we did top 5 players of the season so far. 3 of those are new signings: De Ligt, Mazraoui, Ugarte, with Bruno and Ahmad. So, and Xerxes getting better, and Yoro's been unlucky with injuries. So George Mendes was a big part of the Yoro signing and the Ugarte signing. So if George Mendes is part of the Man United rebuild, which I think he is, him being linked to Yildiz could be relevant. But obviously the 80 million euros is probably going to be an issue. I think he was saying the individual player's single wage is the same as a mid-table team, says Keel. Right, you're going to have to explain this one to me, because there's a few Sir Jim defenders in here, and I think he's absolutely useless, and I base that on interviews. If you think different, that's absolutely fine. Do you want to go back to the article he did in the Times 2 weeks ago, where 50% of it was telling us how the Glazers are good people? Let's talk. Come on. You're all sat there defending Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Let's talk. Please explain and interpret to me what he meant by the Glazers are good people and half of my interview is going to be here kissing their arse. So, you know, if Sir Jim's this great guy who knows everything about football, can we start with those comments then? Or should we go back to the spin interview with Gary Neville? The guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's more than... I'll do it for free. Easily. Wherever. I'll get on a plane to Monaco. You sit down, Jim, and you tell me why you know about football. I'll open the door. I'll fly for free. Let's do it. He won't do it because he'll get exposed because he doesn't know anything about football. He's clueless. Absolutely clueless. Like the question that's been put to him by the founder of FC United. Are you a Man United fan or are you a Chelsea fan? But Keel, I don't understand what you're saying. I think he was saying the individual player's single wage is the same as a mid-table team. No, I don't think he was saying that. I don't think he was saying that at all. I read out his quote. If you look at the top 8 players in terms of salary in Manchester United, 50% of those are not available. And he also goes on to say that if you look at the players that are available, it's equivalent to that of a mid-table team on wages. So what he's basically saying is, if you look at the players that Man United have got available and you add their wages up, you'd expect to be mid-table. Well, it's bollocks. It's absolutely bollocks. Six of our available players earn more than Brighton, more than Bournemouth. So I don't know what some people are interpreting that he was saying that individual players' single wage is the same as a mid-table team. That doesn't make any sense. Sport and Leak says you're clueless and interpreting it the way you want to see it. No, I'm intelligent, mate, and I've spent an hour before this show reading over it. He basically is saying that Ruben Amorim is mid-table because the players he's got available are actually on wages that you would expect to be mid-table with, and that the players who are missing are, you know, massive wages who aren't available. And it's not true. It's just not true. There is a lot of wages that aren't here. Rashford, Shaw, Mount, Anthony, Sancho. There is a lot of wages not here, but there is still a lot of wages on that pitch. And that's the bottom line. And my point is, he's trying to say that, you know, we've wasted a load of money. And he's true. But what I won't have is that wages aren't relevant to success when they are. They are. Look at what Kevin De Bruyne has earned over the last few years. Look at what Mo Salah's earned over the last few years. We've just spent on shit. That's my point. And he's trying to make out that, oh, you know, the players that are available, actually, you'd expect to be mid-table. Bollocks. Absolutely not. Rajaf says, giving Ten Hag a try. And also, to the, you know, there are people out there that defend Sir Jim. Go and knock one out to the photos of the stadium that will probably never get built. That's one. And two, please, 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 tell every one of us who are questioning this guy, please, 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 being as you're defending him, please tell us why you're defending a guy that spends half of his time telling us how great the Glazers are, who have literally pounded this football club into the ground. And remember, you can probably get custom t-shirts with Glazers on it, because that's basically what you are. You're defending a guy who 2 weeks ago spent half an interview telling the world how great the Glazers are, and you're defending that. So that's up to you. It's a free world, but don't come for me, because I'll call out a guy who, in my opinion, doesn't know what he's doing and has about 300 questions anyone with a brain would want to ask him about the state of this football club. And I'm sorry, pictures of a stadium that's been drawn on bloody ChatGPT and interviews about how great the Glazers are ain't going to wash with me, and it ain't going to wash with a lot of people either. But if it washes with you, great. Glazers t-shirts from T-shirts printed in your style are available now. Giving Ten Hag a transfer window and sacking him has ruined Amorim's ability to get who he wants and has set United back financially, says Rajaf. Yes, 100%. And I think when we were on stage last week in Dublin, Danny from The Script came out with a great point. What they've done, one of the worst things they've done to Amorim is they've took a career. And this is important to anybody. If you're a 100-meter sprint runner, and throughout your career you've won 98% of your races, and then your coach says, "I want you to run injured," and you run 10 races and you come last, you've just ruined your win percentage. And that's what they've done with Amorim. They took a manager who, hipster manager, whatever you want to call him, had an amazing win ratio, and they've destroyed it. They've destroyed it for what? What? Keel likes Sir Jim Radcliffe. He's just not a good communicator and is trying to make a point about high wages. Keel, you know, T-shirts are available whenever you want to go and get them. Please tell us why he defends the Glazers. So I want to talk next about the goalkeeper. This is interesting. So this has come out from Give Me Sport that Manchester United are looking at, and I'll probably get the name wrong, Seny Lemans, who plays for Royal Antwerp and is a Belgian goalkeeper. He is 22 years of age. He's also been looked at by Arsenal and Manchester City. Really, really, really highly thought of as a distributor, shot stopping and commanding of his area. I think he's well over like 6'2". Probably available for about £20 million. He is meant to be the next big thing, literally. I don't know whether anybody else has heard anything about him. Lemens is his name, Belgian goalkeeper. I think he's 21 or 22. He's at Royal Antwerp. Well, United have been linked to him. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, in the goalkeeper situation, because I think a lot of people are waking up to what we got over a week ago from very good sources, that Amrim wants to replace the goalkeeper and he wants to bring his own guy in. Can United, can Sir Jim, can they facilitate this? As we know, Onana doesn't want to go, even though there probably would be interest from Saudi. He doesn't want to go. So if you can't get rid of a player, Sir Jim Radcliffe and the Glazers have already proven that they're not that good at getting players out. Casemiro, they wanted gone last summer, and in January, he's still here. He might not even go this summer. So it's not as easy as Amrim wants this, get rid of that, we move. That hasn't happened, and it won't necessarily happen. But I think the interesting thing is, if Onana can be moved on, which is what Amrim wants, this is probably logically what we do need to do. Every goalkeeper started somewhere. Every goalkeeper, it's actually quite rare to buy a goalkeeper who is, hey, I'm Manuel Neuer in my prime, coming to Man United. Like, it's very rare that you can do that unless you're a certain type of club. And you look at Manchester United, and look, admittedly, as I said, like, we have got to buy better and we have got to remove the shit. But this, to me, would be a good idea, even if you can't get rid of Onana. Because I don't know whether Onana goes in the summer. But what I would say is that if Onana stays, you should still be looking to bring a goalkeeper like this in anyway, a genuine long-term solution that kicks him out of the team. And whether it's this guy or whether it's anybody else, and I'm sure there's people in the chat who have other suggestions, this is exactly what we should be looking for. A goalkeeper with a level of experience who is still young, but has that. It's the same as a striker, isn't it? It's the same as buying a young striker or a young midfielder or a young centre-back. Get the goalkeeper in that can grow at the football club. And in some ways, it might not be a bad idea to keep Onana for another year and bring somebody like this in who's got huge potential, who can win the #1 shirt without the pressure of having it from day one. So I think it's, I don't necessarily think we'll get this guy, but to be honest with you, I don't see Man City going for him, and I don't see Arsenal going for him. I think Man City will go higher profile, probably Costa at Porto, and Arsenal don't need anyone who can replace Raya. Man United actually are in quite a good position. Goalkeepers don't like going to clubs where they're going to be #2. They want to be goalkeepers who are good enough, want to be #1. And you've got to look at clubs and go, well, where's my pathway? And in the Premier League at the moment, there's probably Chelsea, Manchester United, who actually have a pathway to the first to the #1 shirt. So keep an eye on that name. It's an interesting one. Paul Church, thank you very much for your super chat this morning. He says, if the budget is only 60 million and we need 60 to 80 million more, isn't selling homegrown players the only way to raise it through pure profit? If budget is only 60 million and we need 60 to 80 million, isn't selling homegrown? Look, Paul, nobody can do this. I'm sure there'll be somebody that sits there and, let's talk about what Man United have got available this summer. Let's talk about what Man United have got for sale this summer. I've got my bit of paper, and I figure out that if we sell Mainoo, we can get 4 players at £15 million a year on 5-year contracts and pay £15 million now. Well, look, nobody can do this. Not even the best financial football expert in the world can do this. We can't predict it because straight away, debt interest has to be paid, 30, 40, 50 million pounds, and we don't know what that will be. We also know we've got to pay 90 million pounds on transfers that we already owe money for. Yoro, Xerxes, Rasmus, whatever. So there's well over 100 million pounds of money we've got to spend this summer. And we don't know what we have as a budget anyway. On top of that, if we're not in Europe at all, that's a big hole in our budget, as much as 50 million pounds down. So predicting what we've got available is very difficult when debt interest payments have to be paid, 90 million's got to be paid on transfers, and if we're not in Europe, that's a deficit as well. On the flip side, if you're in Europe, you've won the Europa League, you're in the Champions League, that's easily going to be 80 million pounds of profit next season. So that will make a big difference. Worst case scenario, if we need to raise money and we're not in Europe, then you might need to sell a homegrown player because, let's be clear, Marcus Rashford's going to earn you more than Anthony and Sancho. Mainoo is going to earn you more than Casemiro and Eriksen. Garnacho is going to earn you more than trying to sell Harry Maguire or anyone like that. So I agree with you on that. So yeah, I do agree with you on that. But effectively, it's really hard to predict. It's really, really, really hard to predict because I don't think anybody knows, and that's why you can talk about just looking at odds on FPL, seeing the replies to Ugarte. Our fan base deserves everything it gets. I mean, I'm just looking at the Ugarte tweet, and I would implore you all to go there and reply. Because there are so many horrible, horrible replies in there. There's some great ones in there, like United Exclusive, Amri Mira, me. But I don't... The thing about the Ugarte thing, and I'd love to know it in the chat, is who's driving it. It's very rare that, a couple of Twitter accounts will just go, I think you're shit, piss off. Somebody's driving that. Like, is it a Twitter account? Is it a TikTok account? Is it a YouTuber? Who is driving it and for what end? Because it makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense to me as to why that is happening at all. And we can all argue and we can all fall out. Like, I don't mind that. But it's just that aggression and toxicity to me that just doesn't make any sense at all. I don't really, understand it. But, each to their own. If they sell Mainoo or Garnacho, it's going to be even more difficult for anyone to support these idiots in charge, says Daniel. How are you doing today, says UKG. I'm good, actually. I've actually really enjoyed the international break. Obviously, we were in Dublin last week. I was down in London on Monday. And it was annoying me that we were missing 2 weekends of football. But I sort of realised it too late. Smash a like if you did. Or just put a comment in. Me and Beth were talking yesterday, and we both thought we were playing Forest on Sunday. Up until about end of last week. I didn't realise we were having 2 weekends without football. But obviously, Saturday, Sunday, we're playing Tuesday, so it's not that bad. But the FA Cup should not be stopping a Premier League weekend. Not in March. Like, there should be Premier League football this weekend, but it's only 2 days, and we've got so many games coming up, haven't we? So many good games coming up as well. Forest away will be tough. Manchester derby, Lyon, Newcastle away, Lyon, and then I can't remember who we've got after that. But we've got so many good games coming. Really have. Can you talk to us about Mainoo? Yeah. I mean, look, the Mainoo story is really interesting in the sense that it's coming in from Manchester Evening News, Stephen Railstone. I think, I'm not a big fan of certain Manchester Evening News outlets, and I'm not actually a massive fan of it altogether. But Stephen Railstone's always, I think I even follow him. I think he's, hasn't got loads of followers, but nice guy, and, I think he's quite, level-headed in an organisation that doesn't seem to be. But this is what he's saying. There is a genuine chance that Mainoo could leave in the summer. There needs to be a compromise in contract negotiations for Mainoo to stay, but it's thought a split might eventually be best for the player and the club. Now, People will panic about that. And I want to run a poll here. Would you sell Mainoo for 60 mil? Would you take 60 million pounds of pure profit for Mainoo now? Yes or no? Now, what I will tell you is what I know. And as I said, the Onana stuff is absolutely spot on, and loads of people have been speaking about it since we said it. What I'll tell you about the Mainoo situation is that from his side, remember I said to you yesterday from Frimpong's side, they're not denying that United are interested. So there could be reasons for that. But from Mainoo's side, they are confused why this keeps coming out. And I imagine they'll be confused again. They are confused why Man United keep talking about Mainoo being sold. Because from their side, he's got a long contract. Obviously, there needs to be contract negotiations around wages because his wage at the moment is pitiful. It's really low. Like he started for England in the Euros last summer. He played nearly every game up until his injury. So I can't remember what he's on at the moment, but he does need a pay rise. But he is under contract for a while, but he does need a pay rise. So from his camp, they're a little bit confused as to why there is talk of a sale, considering for them, yes, they want a better wage because he's on a rubbish wage, but they're also aware he's under a big contract. So it's just natural negotiations about a wage. Why is it, well, he's going to get sold? And to break that down very, very simply, if I'm under contract for 3 years and I'm on 30 grand a year, but I'm an England international, I want at least 100 grand a week. And I think I'm entitled to ask for that. So you're knocking on the door and you're saying, look, I'm on shit money. He's on double what I'm on and he doesn't even play for England, etc. So, but I also know I've got 3 years left on my contract, but come on, can we do something about the wages? So it's not like he's running, it's not like he's not in a Trent situation where he's going in the summer. And he's not in a situation like Jonathan David where he's going in the summer or next summer. His contract runs for a few years, but he does need a better wage. So from his side, they're sort of sat there going, well, look, yeah, there's a bit of friction. There always is. We're talking about wages, but why is the talk of a sale? We're not pushing for a sale. Why are Man United constantly putting it out there about a sale? And obviously, I think we all know the answer to that question because the way Sir Jim and everybody else is running the club at the moment is that they see anybody that's got value and they go, hey, maybe we can sell him. We should not be selling Mainoo, by the way. No way. We shouldn't be selling Garnacho either. I don't differentiate between Garnacho and Mainoo. They're both young players who have got immense potential, who should be allowed to grow at Man United because that's what we're all about. Whether it's Ryan Giggs, whether it's Sir Bobby Charlton, George Best, Marcus Rashford. Players should not be sold at 19 or 20. That's not what we do. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be realising their potential at United. And then if we want to sell them when they're 24, 25, okay. But not at 19 or 20. They should finish their journey here. That's what this football club's always been about. So we shouldn't be doing it, whether it's Garnacho or Mainoo. But we have an ownership now that is mercenary. It's a business. And we've seen that time and time again. The core values of Manchester United Football Club have been stripped into what we basically end up with is cheerleaders for Sir Jim and the Glazers because they just want shiny new toys. But the fundamental shift around what Man United actually is all about is a changing. You can see that with the pictures of the stadium. They want to make it into an event stadium, not a football stadium. They don't really care about the Red Army or core Man United fans. They just want people to come every game and fill it up and spend money. And that's what United's future is. It's corporate, it's business, it's mercenary. And that's why they're turning their back on hardcore football fans. And that's why they're turning their back on developing young players because they see them as pure profit. So I think this is coming from the club. And I think the club are pushing this, almost trying to push Mainoo out the door. If you don't take cheap wages, off you go. Because from their point of view, they're like, I don't care whether you play for England, and I don't care whether you should earn 150 grand a week or 120 grand a week. We're not paying it you. And if you don't like it, piss off because we'll make 60 million quid out of you. And I think that's what the club's become. I don't see Mainoo as the villain in any way, shape or form. I see Mainoo as the victim in the sense that he should be on around 100 to 150 grand a week based upon the talent and what he's achieved so far. What United are trying to do is go, oh, wages, wages, wages. But you know what you get. You get what you pay for. And I think they might be trying to force him out the door in a situation where I don't think he wants to go out the door. But ultimately, my theory is that there is no way this is being pushed from Mainoo's side that he's going to leave, and it never has been. It's been United's side for the last 4 months. And I think the reason Man United are pushing this is twofold. One, if it happens, they make money. Two, if it doesn't happen and they sign a new contract, smoke and mirrors, like Patrick Lynch says. Oh, you thought he was going to leave and we've signed a new contract. We are the heroes. And I think that is sort of what's going on in relation to that. Chris Davies, thank you very much for being a member for 5 months. You're an absolute legend. Thanks everyone who's tuning in this morning, by the way. Make sure you smash a like. Oh, just a quick reminder. Somebody did say, why does it say subscribe to Mark Goldbridge's channel here? It's in the video description and it's in the live chat. If you haven't subscribed to my personal channel and you like driving with Goldbridge, I've done cooking with Goldbridge, whatever. I'm testing something out this afternoon about 3 o'clock on my channel, which will be live. So if you're free between 3 and 4 o'clock today, subscribe. I will be, I don't know how it's going to work. I'm just testing something out and it will be live. So, and it will be in the house. So, but it will be live and interactive. So if you want to tune in for that and be part of the test, then I will be live at around 3 o'clock on my channel, which I haven't been for a while. I don't think I've ever done a live on that channel. I don't think I've ever done a live on that channel. I'm not live driving. It's not a live driving with Goldbridge. That's all kinds of wrong. I might do a little bit of, I might make a cup of tea or something, but yeah, check that out. Sir Jim's wage comment was crap. He's clueless, but a lot of our players are mid-table standard. We are where we are because of low IQ, subpar players, as Anders. Look, if you want to read what Sir Jim Radcliffe said and flip it round to something you want it to be, that is fine. But I'm very comfortable with my interpretation of it because I've listened to every interview he's ever done around Man United, and I've read every interview he's ever done with Manchester United, and for me there's a consistent theme of spin and smoke and mirrors and a lack of knowledge, and most of the time what he says you can find out isn't true. For example, you know, he sacked like 450 people, and he said one of them was a, what was he said? He said one of them was on 150 grand a year and was a, oh, what was it? Body language expert on 150 grand a year. Who were they? And we're all 450 people that? And it's like, one person out of 450 was on 150 grand a week and a body language expert. What about the other 449? And this is what I mean about spin. Maybe you're not exposed to spin much. Maybe in your life you haven't been exposed to bullshitters. I've been exposed to loads of them in all sorts of jobs, friends, whatever. I can smell a bullshitter a mile off, and he talks bullshit. He spins like, so you've sacked 450 people, and one of them may have been justified, but it might not have been justified. Maybe that person actually was doing a good job. Maybe they were a body language expert in relation to sports science, in relation to, you know, what the opposition are doing and how, you know, I don't know. But as I said, 1 out of 450 people might have been justified, and he sits there in an interview and sort of ridicules that one person. I mean, how would you feel if you were that one person as well? Just a strange way of doing things. They're putting him in the shop window. Why, I don't know, says Pete Phillips. We shouldn't be courting attention for someone who could be vital in our progression, says Pete. I think everybody's for sale. I think they'll sell Mainoo and use Kone as new signing. Ridiculous, as Grizzly. Well, I tell you what, somebody asked me last night about if Rasmus left, would I still support him? And I said, most players that leave Man United, I want them to do well. When Phil Neville went to Everton, when Nicky Butt went to Newcastle, when Wan-Bissaka went to West Ham, when McTominay went to Napoli, they're still our players. I still have a sense of, as long as they finish, as long as they go on good terms, you always feel attachment to them. if Mainoo went to Chelsea or he went to Juventus or wherever, I would want him to do well anyway, because I see him as a product of Manchester United's youth team. But I'd actually want him to do well to prove these prats in charge what idiots they actually are. Same with, if Garnacho goes, I'd want him to do well. If Mainoo goes, I want him to do well, because I want them to prove what bloody idiots we've got in charge. Happy birthday to Sebastian Philippe, says Gabrielle. Lovely. Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Sebastian. Also, happy birthday to our producer, Greg. It's his birthday today, so big shout out to him. Ahmad says, I'm not Player FC. I support United, and the players playing for the badge for me, it's a special connection when a youth player breaks through. Yeah, and I don't think anybody would disagree with me if I said over the last 10 years we've lost our soul of what we are as a football club. And many times over the last few years, I've hoped that we might be moving back. I think we're moving further away, to be honest. I think we might be moving further away. Let me just read this to you, though. I mean, I don't want to ruin your day, but let me just read this to you. So this was from the same article with Laurie Whitwell. And this is a direct quote. Sources speaking anonymously to protect relationship say Luke Shaw's deal signed in 2023 was worth around £200,000 a week plus bonuses on top. So the contract he signed 2 years ago, and he's still got 3 years left, was 200 grand a week plus bonuses. Now that might have come down a little bit because we're not in Europe. But don't talk to me about that. Talk to me about the actual contract. I mean, what prat gives Luke Shaw at 27, 200 grand a week when you look back at the 5 years before that? We gave him a 5-year deal at 27 on 200 grand a week. Look at his injury record then. It's just madness. And you know what? If I was sat negotiating that deal in 2023 and Luke Shaw's agent said to me, we want 200 grand a week plus bonuses and a 5-year deal, I'd stand up and say, shake my hand. And he'd go, what are you doing? I'd say, I'll tell you what, I respect the bullshit. I respect the fact that you're sat there with a smiley face asking me for it. You know, I actually am not going to laugh at you because the way you've played that, you know, you should get an Oscar, because I actually respect the bravery. And they think, you know, they think firemen are brave. I mean, this guy is brave. He's literally come in here and asked for 200 grand a week and a 5-year deal for Luke Shaw. I mean, can we get an applause for that? You know, can someone get BAFTA on the line? This is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What prat signs that off? I think Luke Shaw, when he's fit, is one of the best left backs in the world. But in 2023, who was offering Luke Shaw 200 grand a week and a 5-year contract other than us? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Real Madrid weren't knocking on the door. Neither were Barcelona, neither were PSG, neither were Man City, neither were Chelsea. Nobody was going to give him 200 grand a week and a 5-year contract based upon his previous 5-year injury record. So why did we do it? Why did we do it? And what part of us thought, you know what? He's actually worth it. Because I actually think, even though he's been injury prone for all of his 20s, in his late 20s and early 30s, he's actually going to get fitter and better. Morons. Absolute morons. And that's what this football club has been, isn't it? I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Luke Shaw must wake up every morning and laugh. I mean, I'm sure he's a bit down that he's not playing football, but there are positives, you know. There are. And it's just, I don't even get surprised anymore. I do not even get surprised anymore. And that's not coming in from The Sun or the Daily Star. That's coming in from Laurie Whitwell in The Athletic. So it's even worse than we thought. So we basically pay Luke Shaw 800 grand a month for the last 18 months, and he's not even played. I mean, he's probably, so I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. It's well over 12 million, isn't it? Just not to play football. Yeah. Can you wish my friend Matt a happy birthday, says Cal. Happy birthday to Matt. And Joe Alexander says, I'm 40 minutes behind you, but the squad is mid-table. Look who is playing and available right now. The entire bench is kids, says Joe. I don't think some people have actually listened. Right, okay. The core principle about what Sir Jim Radcliffe was saying is that when you look at the players that are available, 50% of our 6 top earners aren't available. Well, that's bullshit, because they are. Casemiro is available, Bruno is available, Rashford is available, Sancho is available, Anthony is available, De Ligt is available. There are 6... Mason Mount's injured. So 6 of our 7 top earners are available. The fact that we've loaned 3 of them, that's not being available. We chose to do that and we didn't replace them. So Sir Jim Radcliffe is wrong. And also, when you total up the wages of our first team at the moment, even with no Shaw, Mount, Rashford, Sancho, we're still paying more for half of our team than Brighton and Bournemouth play for their whole team. What Sir Jim was trying to say is that, oh, woe is us. We've got loads of players not available and that's why we're mid-table. We're not. We're mid-table because we've bought shit for years and years. We deserve to be mid-table. But what we pay for is a top 4 team. And we're not getting it. And it's not because of injury. And it's not because of loans. It's because of giving Luke Shaw 200 grand a week on a 5-year deal. But my issue with it is that, yes, again, it is spin and PR to try and deflect and confuse, which it clearly has done with some of you. But I also think Sir Jim Radcliffe thinks lowering the wage bill is the way forward. And it's not. You get what you pay for. We're just stupid. I ain't got a problem with giving someone 200 grand a week in a 5-year deal, but not Luke Shaw. Give Alphonso Davies 200 grand a week and a 5-year deal. Yeah? Give Frimpong 150 grand a week and 5-year deal. But don't give it to Eriksen. Don't give it to Luke Shaw. And, 250 grand a week, yeah, I'm more than happy to give it to Cole Palmer. Don't give it to Mason Mount. That's the real issue here. It's not paying the wages. It's who you give the wages to. And that's not on Amorim. And that's not on the player. It's not even on Sir Jim. It's on recruitment. You need intelligent people. What Sir Jim wants to do is cut. That's why he's sacked half the workforce. That's why he's forever kissing the Glazers' arse. That's why he's forever talking about cutting costs. We won't be successful cutting costs. What he's trying to say is that we pay too much money on wages, and actually, if we keep cutting costs, we'll be a better football team. We won't. You get what you pay for. Food is a good example. If you go to a top restaurant and you pay 80 quid for a steak, there will be a little markup because you're at a good restaurant, but it will still be a really good cut of beef. If you go to McDonald's and you get a Big Mac, it won't compare. It's processed, it's churned out, it's manufactured, it's cheap. And you get what you pay for in football, but it's not really about the player. It's not really about the agent. It's not really about the manager. It's about the negotiations. If I go and get Anthony for £80 million and give him 200 grand a week, I can't get Gakpo as well. And that actually happened. We wanted Gakpo and Anthony. We only got Anthony because we overpaid massively and there was no money left. Your negotiation's key. And that's where we need to be better. I don't mind paying 200 grand a week or 250 grand a week to a player. It's the modern game. The Club World Cup, you're going to win £100 million for winning the Club World Cup. The whole tournament's a bloody joke. The best teams in the world aren't even in it. But fair play to Chelsea. They've got an invite because they won the bloody Champions League 50 years ago. So they're in the Club World Cup. They could earn 50, 60, 70 million pounds, and that will enable them to go and get Yildiz or whoever. We're not in it. We can't do that. There are multiple opportunities in the modern game to earn massive money. And to do that, we're going to have to build a good team because we're miles off. And to do that, you're going to have to pay good wages sometimes. We've got to buy the right players. We can't buy cheap. Like people are talking about Angel Gomez coming back. He may well come back because he's a free transfer. We may well sign Jonathan David because he's a free transfer. But I tell you what, Angel Gomez, Jonathan David, free and cheap, or Gyökeres and Humlen from Sporting, who've played the Amorim system and are both really, really good players. I know what I would want. I know what we'll probably end up with. selling Mainoo because he's pure profit or keeping Mainoo because he's got great potential. I know what I'd rather do, but everything is going to get dictated to by money. Everything will. Dimitri, morning from Florida. I'd rather bin off the useless player and take a hit on FFP than sell our talented youth players like Mainoo and Garnacho. I agree. Mark, I think what the Glazers has done is basically what happened in Captain America Civil War. An empire that is broken from within cannot be rebuilt, says Andre. Thank you very much for that. And Mark, I'm 40 minutes behind, but yeah, I've done that one from Joe. My happy birthday to him. Best and worst case scenario for summer transfer window, says Jahid. I genuinely said this in January, and I'm going to keep saying it. If we don't qualify for Europe, i.e. win the Europa League, I think we're staring into oblivion. If we do qualify for Europa League, that puts us in the Champions League. We'll have a lot more money. I genuinely don't think Man United want this to be the case, but and I think some fans are quiet about it, but I think that you're talking about £100 million swing. If we're in the Champions League, it's about £100 million. If you're in the, if you're not in it, if we don't win the Europa League, we're out of Europe altogether. It's a £100 million swing. That's the big thing here. We can talk about selling Mainoo or not. We can talk about selling this player or that player or interest payments or what we owe. Let's call it what it is. The Europa League is just not a nice way to rescue a season. I think without it, we're staring into oblivion, and with it, it rescues us. And I understand why the club are sweeping that under the carpet, because the pressure. They can't, as much as we criticise United, they can't come out and say, we need to win the Europa League to survive, and if we don't, we're in big shit. But we're not stupid. It's so obvious to me that the summer stands and falls on whether we win the Europa League or not. We can't really take any more debts. We can't really take any more loans. And if we need to sell to buy, everyone knows we need to sell to buy, and we'll end up not getting value either. So I think if we win the Europa League, we'll be in a better situation. If we don't, I think we're in big, big trouble. And I've said that for a while now. I hope I'm wrong, but I can't see any other scenario. Fantastic show this morning. Whoa, I tell you what, there was a couple of topics there we could have just ran the whole show on. But we are live at 8 o'clock tonight, and it's me. So we'll probably be able to revisit some of this. So get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts. Let's see what the day brings. I don't feel that the Mainoo story is anything new, by the way. This has been going on for 4 months. Like, Man United might sell him if he's not realistic on his wages. As I said, from Mainoo's side, they're a bit confused why Man United keep using the word sell. This would never happen. Never happen. Like, if you go back before Rashford's last contract, we were never leaking that we might sell him. Even though Rashford was talking at 300 grand a week, we were never, well, if you don't take these wages, you can go. It's a complete and utter change in the way that Man United are behaving. They're basically saying, well, you either take those wages or you fuck off. We've never been like that. And now we are. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all in a bit.